Phoenix Down Radio is on the air.
Welcome everybody to Phoenix Down Radio, episode number 179, I believe the doc says, because we haven't done this in a month and a half. But hi.
Year end is crazy. A bunch of stuff happened.
And then some other stuff happened, and we had to delay, but we're back. It's 2023. Granted, it's the end of January 2023, but we're here. I'm your host, Klauss Nightbringer, and joining me is Seyrr Timono. Seyrr, thank you so much for stopping by. How are you today?
Doing all right, all things considered. Managed to actually get enough sleep last night, which has been rare lately, and I have no idea why.
Have you been thinking about that foot of snow? For those of you who don't join us live here at twitch.tv/Phoenix Down Radio pre-show, you might understand that joke. But for those who are here,
we're sorry that you understand that joke.
Oh, and yes, I guess I did forget to update the title here. Let me work on that as Seyrr tells us exactly how amazing his holiday break was.
So I mean, I didn't do a whole lot for it. Christmas is usually the one that my family doesn't do as much for. We do Thanksgiving, so a lot of it was just like hanging around home, working on unpacking and sorting things because I still don't have my kitchen fully in order.
What? How can you not have your kitchen in order by now?
There's a lot of stuff. Also, like some days it was just too much, and so I just got takeout.
Okay.
Like I can make pasta, I can make eggs. I have to reseason my skillet. God, I need to reseason my skillet. But yeah, like I can do basics, and got a bit more sorted out, so I actually have counter space to work with now. Did my usual New Year's cleaning, and yeah. Game-wise, my Criterion Dungeon group did manage to clear, and then did it a bunch more times, and now all of us have flying thrones. And we're actually kind of thinking about Savage, given that it mostly just appears that we need to improve our gear a bit, and we already did it like a no-death clear once or twice, so clearly this is doable.
Well, that sounds fun.
Yeah. I think I understand it well enough that I could teach it to other people now. So that's fun. And also reinforcing that PvP is actually kind of fun. I managed to do Frontlines daily most days in the last 3 weeks or so. I'm not going to have to rush for Series XP at the end.
Woohoo! That's always good.
Also, I got Battle High 5. It felt great. I was like a god of death. So yes, once again, for 14 players, PvP is really fun now. Don't do Borderland Ruins because it sucks, but the Ansal Hakir, the Nadam, is awesome.
That is always fun, plus Crystalline Conflict.
Yeah, Crystalline Conflict I've been doing as Paladin, and it's surprisingly satisfying to just like activate invincibility as we plunge into a team fight.
Interesting. I have not played much Final Fantasy XIV at all in the last 6 weeks. I know, terrible, horrible.
It's allowed.
But I've been spending a lot of time with family, with girlfriend, work, stuff like that. I was given one of the sweetest gifts I could think of for Christmas.
Ooh.
She gave me what's called a hop passport. What it is a number of states have these, and it is a book that it contains a number of the different local craft breweries in the state and a few in the surrounding area.
Like hops.
Hop as in hops, yes.
Okay, got
it.
I heard it as hot at first, and I was a little concerned.
Craft brewery type of thing, and you go visit these breweries, and you get a buy one get one when you visit.
Awesome.
So it's been a great opportunity for us to go and try and explore a few craft breweries in the area. We've already hit 7 so far this year.
Nice.
And we plan on doing 3 more tomorrow because, well, why not? It's fun to do. And plus, beer is good.
It encourages you to get out and explore a bit. You get to try out different beers.
And also, you get to see the really cool, the way the different breweries handle their things. Like this particular one that I'm drinking right now, it's called the Crandalorian.
That is ridiculous, and I love it.
It is. It's a cranberry, cherry, and vanilla fruited sour.
Interesting.
And it's
like sour beers tend to have a bit more like fruity flavors and stuff like that, don't they?
They do, and they also have like lactose, to give them that sour flavor. So very, very tasty, very, very nice flavor on that. But we've been doing, so we've been visiting a few of those like that. Aside from that, well, the other big news regarding the podcast is we are signed up for our 7th year of Extra Life.
Ooh.
So if you want to support Phoenix Down Radio in our efforts to raise funds for Gillette Children's Specialty Healthcare, I will put a link in the chat there, or I could always just do Extra Life, I guess.
Really nice to see that Extra Life has become something that just like I worried at first that it was going to become okay, we'll do it a couple times for the novelty, but that people wouldn't necessarily stick with it. And to see that it's been going on for such a long time, and it seems like it just gets bigger every year, it's really nice. It's heartening.
It's really cool. I mean, I think they raised $10 million again this year.
Damn.
I'm taking a peek at what our numbers are for. So in the 6 previous years that we've been doing Extra Life, we've raised a total of $5,441 for Children's Miracle Network hospitals.
Damn, go us.
Most of it was for Gillette Children's, but there was the one year that we did the Benioff Hospital in San Francisco.
Yeah, I remember that. You supported a local one. I really did appreciate that.
And
it's
what we could. Go ahead.
Given like a lot of what you see or what people claim about gamers and their attitudes and the like, it's really nice to see that people are willing to be generous and not just for their favorite streamers.
Yep, exactly. Helping out, a group like Children's Miracle Networks, to help offset the costs of some of the procedures that these kids have to go through because of what they've got. It's nice to see. Definitely helpful, and it's appreciated, for those who are able to assist. And do remember, it is completely tax deductible. So make sure to keep note of your donations if you choose to donate. If you have the disposable income to do so, and it's definitely very helpful.
Which, of course, we hope you do. But speaking as someone who didn't have disposable income until very recently in life, totally understand if you don't. Everyone does what they can.
Yep. And one thing you can do if you don't have the disposable income, just tell a friend about it who may have the ability to donate, and have them donate to not necessarily our charity drive, but somebody's charity drive, and get that money to kind of pay it forward in that aspect. So
yeah. I mean, I love everyone who supports our causes. They're great. But for those who just have one that's near and dear to them, a local one like that, give support where you can.
Yep.
I had something more to that, and now it's just feeling trite. You get it. You guys are smart. You understand.
Yeah, which is kind of nice. I'm actually also going to be giving a donation of my time to a charity coming up next month. It's a charity that's very close to my girlfriend's heart. Called One Bright Star. It is a charity organization that was created by a number of mothers who lost children at various ages. Whether a lot of them were lost, right around, either before or just after birth. Some of them were lost, when they were very, very young. But all of the loss is very difficult to have to deal with. So these women got together and they created this organization to try and help other mothers who are dealing with these issues, and just spread some positive knowledge about it to try and improve that feeling, because it's something that's very tough to talk about. But
it's a traumatic event.
It indeed is. But it's nice to see these groups, bringing out, some positivity to try and help others that are, suffering after losing a child. So with that in mind, I guess it's going to be very nice to be able to donate my time and help out there. Plus the fact that I'm going to be, pretty, decked out in a pretty dapper suit, which everything has now arrived and is fitting well. And we'll share pictures of it when it's done, when the event is done, and get to hang out with my girlfriend and have fun. So it should be a really good night. I supported it by buying tickets for my parents to go to the event as well.
Oh, nice.
So that was their Christmas present from me, so they can, have a nice night out with a nice catered meal, some entertainment, and support charity. So it's a good time. But aside from that, I want to throw a big shout out to all our Patreon producers, Nicknar, Aurori, Tibiant, Ravenheart, and Mika. Thank you so much for helping us put on this show. Sorry it's been a little while, but I hope you understand, holidays and other things do occur. So we're back, and we will continue to be back for as long as you will listen to us. How about a little game and community news to get things going in 2023?
All right. What's on the docket today?
Apparently, Tetsuya Nomura says that a sequel to Stranger to Paradise Final Fantasy Origin is a possibility. This story comes to us from Noisy Pixel, written by Orpheus Joshua. Let me copy and paste this for us real quick.
Yeah.
Come on.
It looks like they had a special stream to celebrate the launch of the Stranger of Paradise's third and final DLC. And during that stream, producer Tetsuya Nomura shared a message with fans. He talked a little bit about how, although Stranger of Paradise had a negative reception at first, it does seem like people have grown fond of it, that people started to talk about wanting a sequel to the title. And saying that if that is something that you'd like, it would be very helpful if people who are watching the stream could spread the word to others, spread word of mouth about the game. So suggesting that a sequel might be a possibility if there's sufficient demand for it.
Yeah, that's always good to see, because this is a very different type of Final Fantasy, but it takes the original story from the first Final Fantasy and kind of spins it on its head. Where did Garland come from? I did play a little bit of the demo before it was released. While the Souls-like game is not my style, I can see how people would really enjoy this, because the job system is actually quite clever for people who want to be able to switch back and forth between role types, whether you want to be like a magic user, a damage dealer, a tank. And I believe there are other prestige classes within the game as well that you can unlock, and more that have been added with DLC.
Yeah, given how fundamental the job system and a lot of those iconic jobs have been to the Final Fantasy series, it was really fun to see them play with it a little bit and create things that were still fitting into a Souls-type game, but had the feel of those jobs. Something that's like, okay, but this is a black mage. This is something that's a caster, even if it's being done in this very different environment. I also tried out the demo for a bit, also watched some friends playing, and yeah, I was impressed with a lot of the creativity on that. I've actually been thinking about picking it up once I finish with a couple other games.
And there's a lot of sales that you can, so you don't necessarily have to pay the full price for it right now. If you wanted to pick it up, you can wait for it to be on sale, either on, I think it's on Steam and Epic. Is that correct?
I believe so.
As well as PS5 and maybe Xbox Series.
Yeah, part of me is tempted to go for it on PS5 just because I feel like I'd be more comfortable with a controller, and I always struggle with controllers on PC games.
Gotcha.
But I'll figure that out.
This next bit of news is just kind of a little interesting tidbit. If you have the ability to go to do so, just click on this link that we popped in the chat here. Apparently during a live stream a little earlier on, Square Enix gave us our first look at the Final Fantasy XVI Moogle. And They did not disappoint. We get our old-fashioned style Moogles. We don't have like the ones from 12. We don't have the ones from 9. It's the ones that we're used to seeing.
Yeah, these are like the old style floof balls.
Yes.
Yellow palms this time. Were they yellow palms? Oh man, I kind of want to go through and make a list of like palm colors in all of the different Final Fantasies and see if there's any.
Well, in 14 they have all different color palms.
It's red palms on the source, blue palms on the first.
There. I think Kuplo Cop from the original 14 is a yellow palm. If you look behind me there.
Yeah. The Thorn March Moogles are like most of the colors of the rainbow.
Yeah.
This is never explained.
Because they're very different. That's why.
Oh my god, I have some people to ping about things. Anyways, but yes.
But
a good solid staple of a Moogle, has the classic Koopa-ween sound. It's adorable.
But speaking of Final Fantasy XVI, we got a little bit more information from Yoshida regarding the game. They're talking that Final Fantasy XVI will showcase the power of the PS5. This story comes to us from Push Square, written by Sammy Barker. Speaking during a live stream in the aftermath of the title's recent release date trailer, producer Naoki Yoshida hinted that the console exclusive is really flexing the new gen system's power. He said, as translated by Genki on Twitter, the latest trailer is all real-time rendering. There's no loading. It's become a game that is like, look at the power of the PS5. And if you watch that trailer, it is pretty amazing. So the fact that it was all real-time rendered and not loaded from an FMV says a lot about the PlayStation 5. So I've got my game pre-ordered. I bought the really expensive edition when it was on pre-order about a month and a half ago. I think, I want to say I pre-ordered it either just before, I think just before the last episode. So, and yep, Nick Nar got his too. I remember that. And Aurory's got her version. Seyrr, have you ordered your version?
I was indecisive about a bunch of stuff. I could do it right now if you don't mind me being a little distracted.
Do whatever you want, buddy. You can order it if you want.
Oh, hot damn! I have been waiting for those words. This is your fault. You made this happen.
Well, we can always mute him, folks.
That'll help with some of it.
But what's nice about the Final Fantasy XVI machine, it is in full swing. In fact, retail marketing has also begun in Japan. Also from Push Square, this is an article written by Robert Ramsey. So apparently, as pointed out by Genki JPN on Twitter, the advertising stands for a Final Fantasy XVI are starting to pop up in retailers. These big PS5 displays feature key art from the game, and they certainly catch the eye. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste the actual tweets that they're referencing as well.
Yeah, you've got that huge, those streaks of red from Phoenix and Ifrit, the deep blue of crystal between them, heroes standing front and center. Damn, that looks good.
Yep. I screenshotted the tweet in our show notes, but I put the link to it actually out on the show notes if you want to take a peek at it and get a closer look at the images that were taken from Japanese retail advertising. But no, it's nice to see. It basically points to the fact that at this point they really believe that the June 22nd release date is going to hit. I have been reading a little bit on other articles. I almost posted a news article about this particular fact, but it really didn't seem right. But apparently Diablo 4 is releasing 2 weeks before Final Fantasy XVI. So they were wondering, did Square screw up by setting the release date to the end of June?
I don't know how much the market for one is going to necessarily affect the other.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, they are both RPGs, but very, very different RPGs. Diablo 4 is probably going to be have a decent amount of an online component. I mean, if you think about past Diablos, that was one of the biggest draws, is connecting to Battle.net and flying through runs with your friends to gather loot. I mean, it also is a pretty decent single player story, but it's a Western RPG. It's not.
Yeah, it tends to be a little bit less narrative driven in those ways. Just so many of this, like, it feels hard to compare them.
That, and if you look at how long it's been since Final Fantasy XV was released back in 2016, I think the hype behind waiting for the next game in the actual line for Final Fantasy is going to be enough to get people hyped for it.
Agreed.
But yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Holy crap, Nick Nar! I'm just reading his order from what he bought from the Square Enix store, like $600 worth of stuff.
We got FFPEAE. What is that one?
I'm not sure either, to be honest with you.
Because the next one is
FFPR. He said, not PE. What is PR?
Okay.
Final Fantasy pork ramen.
I shouldn't. Ooh, I could go for some ramen right now.
I bet you they would have a pretty good pork ramen at the Final Fantasy cafe.
Oh, the Pixel remaster. So Pixel remaster.
That's right. They did do a limited release with some cool art and like some standees and things like that came with it.
Yeah, and then a collector's edition for 16, as well as some 3 plushies, a Mandragora mug, and music boxes. Apparently including vinyl records in this somewhere. Oh, is that part of what comes with the Pixel remasters? So, I mean, okay, yes, you've already paid for some of that, but still, altogether, you're talking a little bit shy of $1,000 there, man. Damn.
Well, he likes to buy this stuff, and I can't blame him because we get to benefit from it. Especially since he's in my D&D group, and he shares a lot of that openly with us, the music and things.
It's not even the most expensive hobby I know of, so.
No, not at all. Well, like, computers are up there, cars are up there.
Pour one out for the Warhammer 40K fans.
I've got $6,000 invested in my 40K army.
Oh, is that all?
This was also like...
I've heard stories.
This is like 10 years ago that I spent that much money. And if I wanted to continue into it, I would have to spend that much money again to rebuy everything because basically fuck Games Workshop. So
look, I'm just saying 3D printer is a one-time investment.
Oh, my 3D printer is on screen right now, but I have a couple of them back there.
Nope, we'll save my somewhat heretical railing against the copyright system for the post show.
Okay. This next little bit of information I thought was just really cool. I actually heard about it initially on Kinda Funny Games Daily. They talk a lot about video games, and a lot of the hosts are wrestling fans. So when I heard this one, I was like, damn, that's kind of crazy. But for those of you who are familiar with AEW wrestling or New Japan Pro Wrestling, wrestling star Kenny Omega decided to bring out his inner Sephiroth and came out to a pretty amazing intro. I linked another Twitter thread in there if you have a chance to watch that video. He had Sephiroth's coat on, and they had the fire in the background, and it was pretty freaking cool.
Oh my god, this is ridiculous. I love it.
So kind of like fellow wrestlers Xavier Woods and The New Day, who, if you remember, came out to Final Fantasy XIV themed attire during WrestleMania 32 in 2017.
Oh man, I remember that. The announcers had no idea what was going on, but the wrestlers were totally into it. It was great.
Yeah, Xavier Woods is a huge gamer geek. I mean, he talks a lot about it. He even has his own gaming podcast. So
nice.
Hashtag not a sponsor, but if he wants to sponsor us because he likes Final Fantasy 2 or wants to come on the show, just saying. But no, so Kenny Omega came out dressed as Sephiroth and had one winged angel playing, and just that scene when he throws his hand out and the wing shoots out on the screen, that was freaking sweet. So when you get an opportunity, go check out that Twitter thread. It's a pretty epic video. It's like 2.5 minutes long.
That is a non-trivial number of flame jets.
That's how wrestling works, and it's sports entertainment, so they spare no expense on making sure people are entertained.
Yeah, it is working. This is pretty impressive.
Yes. Plus, wrestling plus Final Fantasy equals pretty geeky stuff, so gotta love it.
Yeah.
I used to be a huge wrestling fan back in the 2000s, so it was kind of nice to see, a little bit of love there still.
Yeah.
And of course,
those unexpected crossovers are just always it's something I never expect to see, but then when it happens, it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
It's pretty fun.
It's nice.
I know Marvelous would have an amazing time just gushing about this, because this, I think, hits a lot of his fun points. Because he likes Final Fantasy, he likes Japan, he might enjoy wrestling a little bit too. So,
and he likes shenanigans. Indeed.
And the last thing we'll talk about before we get into our discussion topic tonight is, of course, Final Fantasy XIV Patch 6.3. I threw a link to the patch notes in there. With everything that's been going on for me, I have not played through the entire MSQ yet within Patch 6.3, so we're not going to go through any of this at all today.
Which is a pity, because I have thoughts.
Well, save those thoughts. We might actually end up pushing them back 2 episodes, because I'd like to finish Final Fantasy XIII soundtrack and then get into the patch notes. We can do a full dive, talk about the new raid, talk about the storyline, what's happening with Zero.
God, that song is a bop. I was listening to that raid music for a multi-hour loop last week. It was great.
The raid is fun. I did run through the new 24 man. There's some thirsty motherfuckers out there for Nofika though. The memes that came out right away. They
knew what they were doing.
They did know what they were doing.
And also probably by the time we have our next show, we'll have the finish of the world race for the Omega Protocol, which has entered new and exciting phases.
Oh, I suppose. I suppose, yeah, they're doing the new Ultimate, huh?
Yep. I saw a screenshot of Ley Line's dodge, because it turns out you can have so many buffs and debuffs stacked on you that you cannot gain the benefit of your own ley lines.
Wow.
And then every black mage in the world cried out in horror.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a fun time over at the Omega Protocol.
Yeah. But we will be doing
we'll explore that all a bit later.
We will do a full overview in an upcoming episode, whether it's next episode or we decide to wait until we finish Final Fantasy XIII. A lot of it's going to depend on when we get Marvelous back on the show. I was hoping he would be joining us tonight, which is part of the reason why we're going to do Disc 3 tonight. But he has a previous engagement, which I completely understand. I was very negligent in saying that we were going to be having a podcast tonight, or specifying it, so... You know how life goes.
It's part of a big project that he's been working towards anyway.
Yeah, so we'll let him continue to do his thing. But I hope he can join us again, because it's always fun to have all 3 of our voices, BSing about these types of fun things.
All right.
But with
the 2 we've got,
yeah, we do have some fun music to talk about. So we're going to jump back into Disc 3 of the Final Fantasy XIII original soundtrack. And we start that with this banger right here.
Just as a refresher, yes. So we had last seen Saz and Vanille in the Sunleft Waterscape.
This is a bop, not a banger. I'm sorry. We had this discussion pre-show.
Yes, no, this is 100% a bop.
A jazzy bop called Can't Catch a Break. What's funny about this, the literal translation of the song is Daddy's Gonna Fight.
Yeah, probably better they didn't go with that one. But this one first plays when Saz and Vanille in the Sunleft Waterscape run across the... God, I'm not even exactly sure what they are. Weird
they're like behemoth kind of things, aren't they? They kind of have the behemoth shape of their mob, like the four-footed version, not the one on two legs.
Yeah.
The
Whatever
Enki
they are.
and Enlil.
Yeah. It's a fight that's one of the where you have each of them supporting the other, and so it has a bit of the first stuff of really needing to coordinate attacks, deal with buffs and debuffs, since each of the monsters are supporting each other.
Yep. It's a fun fight.
Yep.
And the music is just so good.
The title and situation suggest just kind of, oh great, what now? Like, things are going from bad to worse, but in a little bit of a comedic fashion. You're laughing at their misfortune. You're not saying, oh no, what's, like, it's not a terrified one. It's more of a, oh shucks, this again kind of feel.
But this is the type of music that we get with, the newer Final Fantasies that I just really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
We get these little interlude, this jazzy feeling, like it's very off the cuff, but it's just so well done.
Yeah, I've actually been before all librarians meetings, I've been just like playing various random tracks as a little thing as people are trickling in, and I think I might steal this one for that. Like, it's got this nice jazzy feel to it. It would make really great background music for when you're just relaxing and waiting for people to come in. In fact, I am going to make a note about that right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and jump in.
I could listen to this for like half an hour and not get tired of it.
We could, but we have lots of songs to get through. Oh, we get that horn though. I am a huge fan for trumpet. Well, being a trumpet player myself, so. But we should move on to SciComm. This plays during the opening FMV cutscene in Palom Polum. Nice little reference there, huh? And during the first fight against the Proudclad.
Yeah, you've got that military feel to it. You've got that lots of percussion in those drums.
And now make sure you're not confusing it with the Proudclad from Final Fantasy VII. The Proudclad is in 13.
Proudclad, it's actually one that's shown up in a number of properties. It's another one of those recurring things. Proudclad and Proudclad is an entire thing that's a subject for another time. Here,
it's a very short song, but
yeah, here we've got pretty much like the fugitives having the full power of the military brought against them, and so we have this like short, efficient, very militaristic tune to go with it.
All right, let's go ahead and continue on with our next theme. This is another one of the character themes. This is Hope's theme. This comes back quite a bit within the game, at being his leitmotif. This starts by playing during his flashback of the 11th day in the Vile Peaks when he explains his story to Saz and Vanille. And then it comes back again in Palom Polum when his father accepts Snow's apology for his part in Nora's death. It was just a whole tragic thing with everything going on, but...
Yeah. I mean, you've got the strings here. You've got the plucked strings. You've got the much slower tempo. Like, this is a little bit of a calm and sad and sedate song. And when Hope is not lashing out at his very unfortunate circumstances, which again I think is completely understandable, he's a bit of a kind of calm, thoughtful, maybe tending a little towards the depressive side of things, and so this is music that really underscores that aspect of his personality. There's a quiet determination in it, but it's not like the hot-blooded anime protagonist type.
No. Hope is definitely not that type of person. He's very thoughtful in, except when he's ready to lash out. But I mean, he's lashing out not in a blaze of glory, but more in a fit of just rage and, you know, unrequited depression. I don't know how to explain it really, but I think you kind of get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but I mean, like, that's more special circumstances. This is kind of Hope at his core.
Just kind of doing his thing.
This is another one that I would be happy to loop for a while at the start of a meeting. The one where we're going for a little bit more of a chill feel.
Nick Nar, I will agree, this does seem a little bit melancholic.
Oh, absolutely. Like, Hope's entire story is somewhat melancholic. Like, he is finding the strength to persevere, finding new meaning in things, but after very difficult set of circumstances. He's got, like, the death of his mother. Even though there is some amount of reconciliation, it does seem like there's still a bit of a strained relationship between him and his father, something that they're going to have to navigate later on after the course of the game. Like, it's not going to be something where it's all big hugs and smiles right away. You can tell, like, his relationships are a little bit complicated.
And a lot of this is happening at a point in his life when he's very, he's still developing a lot of who he is. So.
Dude, being a teenager is rough. People forget that.
It is very difficult growing up. All right, let's go ahead and continue on to the next bit of music we get, called This Is Your Home. The home in question here being the Estheim residence in Palampolum, Hope's house. Has a very similar kind of feel to the previous song.
Yeah, for something with the title, This Is Your Home, it doesn't feel like warm and welcoming. You've again got that melancholy feel, that minor key, that even slower tempo.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if someone is being welcomed home, it's after a journey of great difficulty and tragedy, which again fits with Hope.
Indeed it does. If you want to talk about melancholy, this has a lot more melancholy in it than even the previous one did.
Yeah, I mean, when we arrive at the Estheim residence, it is when a lot of bad shit's going down.
Oh yeah. All right, let's go ahead and jump into our next.
Yeah,
go ahead. Sorry.
It's a beautiful house, but also kind of sterile and cold in a lot of ways. I remember it being like very fancy, well appointed, but wasn't seeing a lot of the stuff that makes a home look lived in. A lot of it looked kind of like a showpiece, which maybe that's just how it is when you're in a fancy neighborhood in Cocoon.
Apparently. Our next theme is called Atonement. It's an arrangement of Snow's theme. And this plays in cutscenes where Snow awakens after nearly being killed by Hope and carries him up a ladder in Palampolum. It's also heard at the 5th arc when Snow and Lightning talk about Seyrr, and later when Snow decides to honor Seyrr's wish to save Cocoon, and during that brief reunion with Nora in Eden.
If you hadn't told me this was a arrangement of Snow's theme, I don't know how long it would have taken me to recognize. It's so different. Mm-hmm. We've got, again, that slow tempo, the different instruments. It's got that melancholic feel. For a big, boisterous Snow who likes to play the part of the hero, this is, like, the title Atonement, like, for someone who wants to be the hero, recognizing that he's made a lot of mistakes and caused a lot of harm himself.
It's a huge moment in Snow's growth as a character within this game. Mm-hmm. When he realizes that his brash, brazen, moves that he tries to, portray really can have negative consequences. And he really needs to, think about things a bit more before he just acts out of, pure emotion.
Yeah. Coming to a more mature idea of what a hero is.
Exactly.
Is a
taking
part of his...
taking other people's thoughts in mind before making those actions, and making sure that what you do has a consequence, and that you're making sure to not fuck up, because it's not just you.
Yeah.
It's very pretty, and there is a lot of positivity when you listen to these parts, like where that really builds up like that, and then it kind of just comes down a little bit, and you feel just a little bit like a weight has been lifted.
Yeah.
And you feel, with atonement, there's that initial sense of, your insides are like being torn apart because you're not sure how it's gonna be taken. But as soon as you get that bit of forgiveness, it's like everything just kind of releases.
Yeah, I mean, it's because especially in the scene where Snow is carrying Hope up the ladder, he hasn't gotten that. Like, Hope is still unconscious at this point. So he's just like pulling them away from the scene of this big battle where both of them got hurt badly. So at least part of it's not necessarily about the forgiveness, it's about taking the title being atonement, it's about the action on his part. Whether or not it's going to be forgiven, it's something you need to do to atone.
All right. We'll go ahead.
That big dumbo.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and move on to our next character theme. This is Vanille's theme. Or at her full name, Erba Dia Vanille.
So we don't find that out until quite a little bit later.
Yeah, when on Pulse, when we visit the village of Orba. Is that how it's pronounced? Orba?
Erba.
Erba. Airbus? Airbnb?
No.
Oh.
No.
That's not where Airbnbs came from? Anyway.
In comparison to a lot of the early depictions of Vanille, where we've got kind of a focus on that smiley, sunny Genki girl, this is a little bit more, again, of that kind of calmer, more sedate. I feel like we get a lot about how for Vanille, that cheerful thing is a mask, a veneer that she puts over to hide this intense, deep sadness. And so it feels like this one is a little bit more of a look at the real Vanille.
A peek behind the curtain, so to speak.
Yep.
So this first plays during the cutscene where Vanille and Saz prepare to rest in the Vile Peaks. It also plays when entering Sunlit Waterscape, during the cutscene in Palampolum where Lightning and Hope promise to protect each other, after Hope tames his Eidolon, and when she talks with him in the Yashas Massif about their promise to see Grand Pulse together.
I've mentioned it before, but I have a big affinity for a lot of the characters who are like these super perky, cheerful, energetic, and hiding this deep sadness behind it. So it's, I'm sure I don't know why that is, and I will not be exploring it further at this time. But so it is really satisfying to see a bit later on as Vanille starts to get feel more comfortable with exposing her true feelings, with exposing a lot of stuff, like the things that she did, that she blames herself for, that set the whole crisis into motion. Being able to like address and accept that part of herself, really major step in her character arc.
Absolutely.
And again, we get some of that hinted at here, where you have this theme that doesn't quite work with the initial portrayal we get of her.
But it just goes to show that she's a very complex and complicated person.
Turns out all the characters here are.
Who'da thunk it? Square Enix making a story with very deep characters that have, you know, interesting arcs that you explore throughout the gameplay. Wow.
All right, what do we got next?
Our next theme is the final stage. It's a short little theme that plays during cutscenes where Snow unknowingly fuels Hope's rage by his ignorant comments, and where Vanille and Fang talk about the War of Transgression upon entering the Yasha's Massif. I don't recall any of this, to be honest with you.
So the War of Transgression was the initial thing between Pulse and Cocoon. That it's the reason that Fang and Vanille were up in there, frozen in crystal.
Because
it was a whole thing.
They were supposed to have what they were ordered by.
They were supposed to become Ragnarok and destroy Cocoon.
And when they basically ran away from that, they became or no.
It seems that there is a very complex, centuries if not millennia long plan lurking behind all of this that our heroes are not really privy to. But their focus was apparently declared fulfilled. Ragnarok did get unleashed and had started to attack Cocoon. This is why Cocoon has some damage that persists to this day. Some of those cracks and the holes, the hanging edge and the like.
Oh, yeah,
but it does seem like it was stopped early, and there's never been a clear answer for why.
All right.
What's going on with this is one of the big underlying mysteries of the game's plot.
All right, let's continue on. Oops, wrong button. Hit that button instead. This is called the Pampa Sancta. And is the background theme for the FMV of the Pampa Sancta.
Now, Pampa Sancta is Latin for Holy Parade, and this is the thing that plays over kind of the equivalent of the Main Street Electrical Parade at Disneyland, only in the Nautilus theme park.
Yes.
And yeah, it's kind of a stylized retelling of the War of Transgression with a very pro-Cocoon slant to the story. As we have spectral summoners and magicians fighting against each other as this projected by holograms and other technological displays in the night sky.
I believe this was actually a big piece in the advertising for Final Fantasy XIII. These scenes are played a lot in the trailers for the game.
Yep, they're very visually impressive.
They are, especially for PS3 era video game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we did have cell technology.
And of course, while all this is going on, since this is at the Nautilus theme park, Saz and Vanille are watching it. Saz is, of course, enjoying the stories that he's been raised on about this war and about Cocoon's role in it. And Vanille is watching quietly and uncomfortably with a very different recollection of it.
Being she was there.
Yeah!
Thousands years ago.
I feel like it was 500, but now I'm not actually sure.
A long fucking time ago.
Yes.
Let's put it that way.
It was a long time ago.
No, a long fucking time ago.
And yeah, given that Vanille has already been a little bit worried about what will happen when Saz finds out her secret, finds out she's responsible for, having this up close and very visible reminder of how Pulse and her people are viewed by the people of Cocoon really adds to her growing sense of alienation.
Yeah. All right, we're going to go ahead and jump into our next theme, which is the music for the Nautilus theme park, aptly called Nautilus.
Where dreams come true or some such. It probably has some actual tagline.
Funny note, in Final Fantasy XIII 2, this plays in Sunleth Waterscape at 300 AF when you're riding the giant Enlil.
Also where dreams come true.
Or some stuff. Well, let's see what they say about the Nautilus.
Yeah. Big, impressive amusement park.
It is known as the City of Dreams.
Yeah.
There's your tagline.
There we go.
And is shaped similarly to a Nautilus shell.
Yeah, there's a little bit of like Cocoon flexing its power here, like showing off the richness, the opulence. Like this is a big resort destination.
Yeah, it's their version of Disney, I suppose.
Pretty much.
Nautilus Park is the crown jewel of the sanctum-built City of Dreams. It houses numerous attractions constructed with the latest technology, but the true stars of the park are the chocobos and sheep found in the family-friendly petting zoo. I mean, who doesn't want to pet chocobos and sheep?
Especially for this setting with so much artificial nature, so many constructed things, having this little bit of like actual wildness that one can appreciate in a controlled environment. That's the real novelty there. Everyone's used to antimatter zipping through the air, holographic whatnots. But a chocobo, that's different.
Speaking of chocobo, figure this is a good segue. This is definitely another bop. You can almost make it a banger. This is Chocobos of Cocoon Chasing Dreams.
They do need to specify because there are in fact multiple chocobo themes in this game.
But this is the Nautilus Park's Chocobo theme. It also plays during the first visit of the font of Namva on the Arkilt Steps. The Arkilt Step. I can speak today. I do like this version of the Chocobo theme though, but I like almost every version of the Chocobo theme. I'm slightly biased. I'm sure you couldn't tell.
Yes, the Font of Namva is where Pulse Chocobos hang out. But here, this serves as this very cheerful, energetic backdrop. I think there actually are some lyrics when we get to the later part of the song. Like, it does one bit through the melody, giving you a chance to, like, acclimate to it. And then right about here, I believe it comes in.
If anywhere, it's going to be here. I want to ride my chocobo all day.
That is not quite what those words mean.
No, I'm sure not.
It actually does have different lyrics in the English version. Mostly about how like delightful and fluffy the chocobos are, and how we will find them.
We will have fun.
Yeah, definitely fits for a theme park.
It's a fun little song. It is definitely a bop. It's even a bangin' bop, potentially. Well, let's go ahead and jump forward into our next theme. Even not the Nautilus has a battle theme. This is called the Feast of Betrayal. And when you have fights within the Nautilus, or when you're fighting like when you're going to fight the Grand Pulse Falsi Atomos, this theme also plays there. So
you've got that kind of discordant bit there. Oh,
it's a very brashy and brassy.
The title Feast of Betrayal is again an interesting one, kind of combining the opulence of the city with this element of, again, Vanille working up to and dealing with this whole thing of like the betrayal that she's committed. One important thing to point out, after that entire sequence with the chocobos, although it's a little bit of like light, happy, whatever, it also does get to feature Saz reflecting on how much his son Dodge had wanted to play with the chocobos and how he had gotten that chocobo shape for him. So the travails of his son are front and center in his mind when Psycom shows up and stuff starts going down.
Yeah, very, very discordant in this portion here.
Yeah, you've
That's
got
a good phrase. I like that, discordant.
Yeah. And I mean, it's interesting, the comparison to something like Disneyland, because you've got this big, happy, shiny thing that has a lot going on under the surface and behind the scenes to make it work. A lot that's not necessarily as pretty. And then you've got what on its face is this like lighthearted little travelogue with Saz and Vanille as they're going through the waterscape and then the park and having all these wacky adventures. But then underneath is something a lot more complicated and a lot darker. So the parallel works really well there, and I'm really happy with it. I think I've mentioned, but I thought about the plot beats and the like for FF13 a lot.
Yeah. This song just goes all over the place, and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go ahead and move on.
Yeah, this happy amusement park trip has turned into a desperate escape from Psycom.
And now, our next theme is called Eidolons on Parade, or Eidolons, whichever pronunciation you prefer. I believe they're both correct.
Huh.
But I've heard of both, you know, depending on who you're talking to.
Fair enough.
But this plays during the cutscene where Saz confronts Vanille outside of the Fiend Lord's Keep and Brynhildr appears.
Now, the Fiend Lord is, of course, another Nautilus construction. You've got the villain for their set pieces. Which also, of course, makes it a great place for the actual confrontation.
Yep. And in this case, Brynhildr is actually Saz's Eidolon, or Eidolon.
Yep. Forced to confront this person that he'd been traveling with, that he had grown to be like, hey, I'm viewing you as a little bit of like a surrogate daughter, I need to take care of herself, that she's the person who's responsible for all this. Like, he wants revenge so badly as she offers it to him, but he finds he can't go through with it. And
at which point the Eidolon comes out and forces him to fight to continue his focus.
There's a little bit before that. We do get like a dramatic moment, including a scene outlined in shadows of Saz appearing to put his gun to his head and fire.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That was really dark. Especially
Yeah,
for a Final Fantasy game of the mid to late 2000s.
I remember it very clearly. Because it's at that point that we cut over to another one of the scenes. But yeah, Saz being forced to confront this really terrible thing as a lessee, reaching a point where he feels that he just can't go on. And then, as they do, the Eidolon appears to, when a lessee has reached that point, force them to confront that feeling and either overcome it or perish.
Yep. Shit or get off the pot.
It's what they do. Now, the titling is again interesting because it's called Eidolons on Parade, but the Japanese title for it is Yume no Owa. Is that Owari or Owan?
Owari.
Owari. Or literally, the dream ends. I imagine in this case it's the cheerful, fluffy dream of Nautilus, this theme park version of the world that
or
ends
his
in
dream
return.
of the fact, of the person he was traveling with, his thoughts of her ended. The dream.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other, really.
Could have many meanings. Leave it to Square Enix to leave things very open-ended.
Well, the dream of Nautilus and the dream of this person are kind of one and the same. This happy, fluffy version that doesn't have the substance behind it. That's built on this story that turns out to be lies.
All right, now once Brynhildr appears, this is the battle theme we get. Not only for that, but for a number of Eidolon battles. This is called Test of the Lassie.
Yeah, we actually get it for a couple besides Eidolons. Anima and Dahaka are included in it, though they are, of course, notable Lassie. Or they're notable Falsi.
Mm-hmm.
That. I had a whole thing and then my mouth rushed ahead of my brain. Happens a lot.
No way. Yeah, as far as the two Eidolons that we fight with this music would be Brynhildr and Alexander, who is Hope's Eidolon.
Yep. But yeah, you've got this much faster tempo, this very simple melody just kind of rising and falling.
But like a lot of music for Final Fantasy XIII, it's very futuristic sounding and very up-tempo.
Yeah. This bit here is actually a little like the opening sequences. Yeah, again, kind of that future technological type thing in there. Because these Falsi, despite being these godlike beings, also have this like weird melding or aspects of technological stuff to them. So being confronted with these kind of almost literal gods in the machine works really well for them.
Mm-hmm. It's a good battle theme for 13. But you can definitely tell that it's the structure of these songs has taken a very different turn from a lot of other Final Fantasies, and we really started to notice it in 12.
Yeah.
And this is even way different from that. So
yeah, you've got an intensity here. Starting with the fight with Anima, these fights and this music really kind of emphasizes this like almost alien nature of these creatures. Like there's stuff that they live that are like fundamental building blocks of the world that our characters and the other various people live in, and at the same time they're just completely alien. This underpinning of the world that they just don't understand on a fundamental level.
Alien,
so there's a really interesting tension between those two elements there.
All right, let's continue on and get some more music going.
I give you this high-level analysis, and you go for the ancient aliens meme.
Alien? No, actually, no. That was a reference to Dazed and Confused. Thank you very much. Aliens, man, we're the aliens. Come on. At least I didn't go.
I come back for this every week, but I'm still gonna massage my temples a bit. Well, every other week. I'm amused, if maybe a little bit. I am throwing pearls before swine here.
At least I didn't go all right.
So anyways, next song.
Next song. All the World Against Us. So this plays,
for the Japanese speakers, Sekai no Teki, the world's enemy.
Yep. This plays during the FMV cutscene where Vanille is escorted by soldiers with Saz in a coffin as Nabat watches.
At this point, we it had not been revealed that Saz had not actually committed suicide, but we did see that he had that fight, but then he's being taken off in this coffin into some amount of like, okay, what the hell is happening here? And yeah, Vanille now exposed as a pulseless sea, as Cocoon's enemy, and Saz having, in a weird way, cast in his lot with her, as that he is now also the enemy of Cocoon.
Well, he is technically a pulseless sea.
Sure, but I mean, there'd been this whole thing where he had been fighting against it. If he had known what Vanille was, he would have more likely to oppose her. But now at this point, she's been revealed for what she is, and he's kind of still with her. He's an enemy of the world alongside her.
And our next one.
But it's not in an especially happy way at this point.
This is game over. So not only does this play during the game over screen, it also plays when Saz points his gun at Vanille again after defeating Brynhildr, and in the area just before the entrance to Orphan's Cradle.
Right, it was that he defeated Brynhildr, he pointed the gun at Vanille, couldn't bring himself to do it, and then brought the gun up to his head. And it was after that we saw him being taken off in the coffin. That was the order of events. It's been a while. I mean, it's a game over theme. There's...
Game over, man! Game over!
Yeah, there's not a whole lot to it. There's that, like, initial kind of swell, but...
It just kind of sits down there and it's like, you died, motherfucker. There's a little tension involved with it, which is why they use it at those other points in the game as well.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on and listen to the Primarch Dicely. This plays during the newscast featuring Dicely at the end of Chapter 3. The cutscene where Dicely, Barthandalus, tells the party to destroy Orphan on the Palamecia, and where he explains the Door of Souls in Eden.
Yeah, it's a thing that's, I mean, it's pretty much his character theme. Primarch is an interesting title. It's one that shows up in Warhammer 40k, among other things.
Yes.
But it's got the root of, like, prime, so it's like the condition of being prime or first, so like first in rank, first in time or in place. Like, the Primarch is the ruler of Cocoon society. Almost has an air of like a religious leader to him, which, given that they have to work with and treat with the Fal'Cie, kind of makes sense. But he's not just first in terms of leadership. It turns out he's also this ancient Fal'Cie that's kind of like one of the first of their first among like first of the kind, like really old kind of thing. So it's an interesting that he chose that title that kind of reflects a little bit of his nature.
Yeah, he's a little full of himself, isn't he?
He's got wheels within wheels going on.
But it's actually a pretty deep track if you listen to it. There's a lot of parts to it.
Yep. There's a kind of majesty to it, which fits with the whole like ruler leader thing.
There's some majesty. There's a little bit of a little more deep. The deeper parts that make it seem a little bit more mysterious and foreboding. There's the
foreboding. That's the word.
There's the higher parts on the top end that make it seem a little bit more magical, mystical. So yeah, there's a lot of elements going into this particular track, and it's very noble right here, very full and regal with the trumpets going.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting. Like I said, it's an interesting theme for a character who has a lot of intrigue as well. I would say, when we first meet Dicely, he's, he seems like he's kind of on our side until he's not on our side.
I mean, like the whole religion is like it's a pope, but not one of the nice. Doesn't necessarily mean they're opposed to you, but like this is not the thing of like someone who is gentle and caring of his flock.
That's true.
That majesty, that foreboding, that almost imperiousness. Anyways,
speaking of, this is at the point where we start fighting fate. This is the boss battle theme called Fighting Fate when we're fighting against Barthandelus. When Dicey kind of reveals his true nature.
There's the choir. Yep. Really, given that this game is an exploration of like people fighting against or reckoning with fate, Barthandelus is about as close to a personification of it as you can get. He's eventually shown to be behind so many of the machinations that led to this. Like, one thing I remember is that with some of the shops with the little descriptions of them, there start being coded messages suggesting that the fugitive party's use of these shops has been purposefully hidden. Like, they are fugitives, but they are very intentionally created fugitives with a very specific purpose in mind. Barthandelus has manipulated so much of the events of this game. He really is fate.
And we fight him.
There we go then.
Hence Fighting Fate.
Oh.
All right, it kind of continues on in loops like this. It's a good battle theme, don't get me wrong. We have a few more to go yet.
There's also a lot of stuff going on in that battle. They're really involved, a lot of things to manage, so having a battle theme that's not necessarily too crazy is a little bit appreciated, because like you barely got time to pay attention to it.
All right.
Also, the like a high-pitched, vaguely Latin-sounding choir, very on point.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that this plays about a little over halfway through the game, just slightly over.
Well, I mean, it's gonna play again. We faced Barthandelus 7 times.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact that
Dude has to make sure we're being pushed in the right direction.
But yeah, we're still on Cocoon right now. We have not even gone into the open world yet.
Yeah.
Now, this theme is called Separate Paths. It plays during the cutscene where Lightning finds crystallized Seyrr on Lake Brescia, and later during the flashback of her birthday.
The relationship between Lightning and Seyrr is a focal point of the second and third games. It's important. It's an important driver of the plot here, but not as much in focus. But as someone who is very devoted to protecting her sister, who chose her career path, has done a bunch of other things in order to do that, this idea that Lightning and her sister are moving along separate paths is something that comes up a fair bit, that Lightning herself seems very troubled by.
Well, I mean, Lightning fights so her sister doesn't have to. Yet this all still happens, and Seyrr ends up in the middle of this battle that that Lightning feels she never should have been a part of.
Yep. Also, even before that, it was mentioned that this played during the flashback on her birthday, which was, as Lightning declared it, the worst birthday ever, because it was also where Snow and Seyrr announced that they were engaged. Oh, and also that Seyrr was a Lassie now. It's like, even before the actual bad stuff happened, we had a thing where her sister had gotten engaged to this terrible oaf of a man.
Though I think that it ends up being less that she was upset about the engagement and more so about her sister turning into a Lassie.
Like 100%.
But I understand.
Actually, she didn't no, she didn't believe it at the time. She thought that the claim of that was something that they had cooked up to get her to look past the whole, oh, and by the way, we're engaged thing.
Well, I suppose, yeah, at the time, Lightning didn't have a very high opinion of Snow, but that does change throughout the game.
It takes time. But at this point, yeah, there's kind of that, like, pulling away.
And as you pull away, you can also then start setting you free.
Oh yeah,
which
it's
is
a
the name of this
separating
next
paths thing. It's that divergence.
Yep.
All right.
So this one is called Setting You Free. Plays when Snow first meets Sid Raines on the Lindblum, and when Raines tells about the Maker.
Raines is another fascinating character in all this.
Mm-hmm. Because you don't know where he stands. He's helping you, but he also has his own motives in mind, and those, his motives are eventually come clear later on in the game, but it's like...
I mean, one of the big things is that he has two completely different sets of motivations, one of which has been forced upon him.
He's just a fascinating character.
Yeah, I believe it's actually during that scene. This is another one where, again, the title is very different in Japanese. Inherited Will. That bit, I feel like refers... It could refer either to the will that Raines has had placed upon him, because, as we find out, he himself has become a Lassie, and has been dancing to the tune of the Fal'Cie all along in encouraging this rebellion and doing all this other stuff. It was part of setting them along a particular path. But also, this idea of inherited will, as he himself personally has this will to rebel, to fight against fate, to fight against the plans of the Fal'Cie, which is part of why he's trying to kill the party. If they die, then this plan can't happen. And when he is defeated, the party kind of becomes the inheritor of his will to be free to fight against this force of fate here.
All right.
It's kind of interesting that in defeating him, we take up this mantle of rebellion, even though we're like opposing him in that moment. There's a lot going on with Sid, and I could talk for quite a while just about him.
Maybe someday we will.
Some other time.
But for now, let's go ahead and listen to The Desperate Struggle. This is a really, really good battle theme.
This is the other boss battle, like the usual boss battle kind of thing.
This plays during battles against Odin in the Vile Peaks, against Sid Raines in the 5th Arc, and the bosses in Orphan's Cradle.
Of which there are quite a few.
It's also a battle theme for most Seathstone's Mark quests. But it kind of has a lot of the battle theme leitmotif going about in it.
Definitely that amped-up tension, though.
Mm-hmm. I really, really enjoy the battle music for 13. Because it just has that feeling, they do a really good job of making it sound modern, yet still have that, tension that builds up here.
The fact that you're, because of the way the battle system works, you're kind of a level removed from the action. You're kind of directing the flow of the battle rather than the individual actions. Also makes it into a little bit more like you're directing it, but you're still kind of separated from it. So adding this extra level of tension to it really works well with that music.
It's interesting because in 13, 12 before it, you're controlling a lot of times one character's flow in times, but you can also set these synergies Is that what they're called?
So you set the paradigms.
Paradigm shifts. That's what it is. But you can actually control what they're doing during those, but what you're able to do during those shifts, depending on which paradigm you're utilizing, it changes what's available for you to choose. And you can have it kind of automate as well, can't you?
Sort of. So for the most part, you're typically choosing auto battle for the main character, though you can tell them particular actions if there's a particular thing you need them to be doing. But for the most part, you're shifting paradigms to say what roles people should be taking. So you're kind of directing the flow of battle at a higher level.
Versus 12 that had the gambit system, and you could basically, once you got to a certain level, you can just run around the world and your characters will take care of themselves.
But also with that, like during the battle, they're kind of auto doing it. But before that, you're like can define it at a fairly fine-grained level, like a difference of,
go ahead,
like 10% hit points in terms of like, okay, this is when I want you to start curing. Like you still have a lot of ability to yourself instruct what the party should be doing.
One thing I did like was the fact that they brought back random battles in 13. And it was more of an ATB style fight versus a you're fighting the enemies on the world map like we see with a lot of games nowadays. So it made it feel like a lot more of a full Final Fantasy experience with 13. It was the last game that actually had that as a feature. Because 14 is online MMO, 15 was an action adventure role-playing game, 7 remake in the same vein. So this was the last game that actually had random battle encounters and an ATB style.
Yep.
We got 2 more left in this disc. Our next one here, Mysteries Abound. Plays as the party arrives on the 5th arc, and again on Grand Pulse, while Vanille readies the synopsis of her and Fang's crystal stasis from a Seath Stone.
So yeah, like for the 5th arc, this is something, again, Cocoon made up of, essentially assembled from a bunch of junk and trash from the surface. And so lots of little hidden warrants in it, things that people just aren't aware of. And this is one of them, this hidden underground, like almost cave system, except more constructed. Pretty much like just this mysterious space kind of thing that's under their feet with no one ever knowing. In this case, it's something that's been set aside for use as effectively as a training ground for them, because again, the forces directing them want to hone them for some purpose or another.
This has kind of a more mystical feel.
Yeah.
Because it's mysterious and very, very different.
They've arrived in this kind of sealed, hidden space in the world. There's kind of interestingly, for a thing that's, again, often so technological, all this other stuff, there is a bit of like a mysterious, magical feeling to it.
Mysterious.
Yep.
As in the mysteries abound.
Oh.
Full circle.
Ooh. Wait, why am I encouraging you?
Because it's in your best interest to do so.
Yeah, that seems about right. Hey, I know what I mean.
All right. Our final song.
Man, I could see something like this in like a Mana game, honestly.
Oh yeah, I could definitely see that it like a special mystical tree kind of place.
Yeah, like this would totally be the type
or
of thing
spring,
you reach like the Mana tree or something similar.
All right, let's jump into our final song of disc 3. Will to Fight. This plays during the cutscene of the 13th day and is the background theme for the 5th arc and the Fault Warrens.
Well, I'm not quite as sure for the... Actually, wait, no, it is for that as well. Yeah, for all of those, it's kind of at this point where the party is sort of pushed to the brink and, like, has chosen, as I said, like, will to fight. Like, they've decided to go ahead and stand against. In the case of the 13th day, of the days leading up to the plot, where all the various characters have decided to kind of rebel against what's happening, where Lightning's putting her plans into effect. For the 5th arc, this is where they've just been attacked and betrayed by Reigns and learned more about what's going on, and deciding that they are going to go ahead and oppose the Pulse Fal'Cie. So for all the various points where it's used, it's something where, confronted with all this stuff, with all these things, they have made the active choice that they are going to fight against it. Given that there's a whole theme again of the exploration of like fate and fortune and how one responds to all these things, choosing to fight is a big decision.
And this is very, very 13 feeling. This just feels like this is when I hear this music, I definitely think of 13. It's definitely in the vein of this game. Especially when you get that guitar in there. It's hard to explain it, but it's really just
the kind of ethereal voice in there as well.
Yep. As performed by Mina.
I don't know who that is.
Japanese artist, apparently.
Huh. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, this plays a lot in the game, so you hear it quite a bit, because you spend a lot of time in these areas grinding as well, because these are great areas for experience.
I think I looked at the lyrics at one point. There's a bit about like reaching out and seizing your pride or something like that. So again, kind of fitting in with that whole like will to fight thing, that defiant attitude.
But yeah, this has been just a beautiful view into, the music from a game that brought a lot of new people into Final Fantasy. I mean, this was the first game that was released on Xbox as well as PlayStation.
Oh, that's right.
So yeah, when Final Fantasy XIII came out, you could get it on either PlayStation or Xbox.
Oh, that was one of those things that started a lot of arguments at the time.
Yep. And
I guess the console wars never really died.
No. And now Square kind of has a lot of agreements directly with Sony to, be console exclusive.
I mean, that's the name of the game for a lot of companies at this point.
So yeah, let us know what you thought of Disc 3. If you have any, what some of your favorite tracks of this portion of the game are, or if any of the other ones we've listened to in the weeks previous.
Yeah, big plot beats on this one being, of course, the Assassin Vanille and the revelations that come from there, as well as starting to get a look at the deeper thing of just how much the party is being manipulated and pushed around by fate in the form of Barthandelus, and seeing Reigns struggling against that and resolving to do so themselves. So not as much as in some of the others, it's kind of focused a little more on some specific character things, but there's still a lot of good stuff in there.
still really good. We do have one more disc to take care of yet. We'll probably knock it out in the next episode just so we can have some completion of Final Fantasy XIII before we jump into talking about the new patch for Final Fantasy XIV and maybe some other things coming up as well. You know, it's nice. There's a lot to talk about in the Final Fantasy universe. So make sure to follow us if you haven't already on your favorite podcatcher, and we'll be here to talk all about it and, you know, hopefully have a good time doing so. Anything else you want to throw out there, Seyrr?
Oh, I mean, now I'm just kind of awash in my own memories of FF13. There was a lot going on there, and I've mentioned it before, but I played it at like an extremely important, informative time in my life. So, I could talk for quite a while about some of this. I think I'll spare you all that right now, but feel free to hit me up on our Discord. I loved getting into depth on some of the like the narratives, the character studies. There's a lot going on here.
Indeed.
But for those who just want to like enjoy the flashy scenes and the cool battles, like it's got that for you too. Like I feel like that's been one of the big appeals of the series is there's a lot of depth there, but there's also just a lot of really fun stuff if you want to enjoy it at a not necessarily as in-depth level. Not everything needs to be a PhD analysis.
And it's nice because through the different Final Fantasy games, we've had different areas that we're exploring, whether it's a medieval landscape or a futuristic conundrum like we get in 13 here. So sorry, I'm used to talking about 14.
Or a medieval landscape overlaid on a futuristic conundrum.
Fair enough.
Man, those ancients really fucked things up.
Yeah, they did. But I think that's going to go ahead and do it for this episode, guys. If you like what you heard, make sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on your favorite podcatcher, whether it's Apple, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or whatever your preferred podcatcher is. And if possible, leave us a rating or review. It helps people know it helps other people find our show and lets us know how we're doing. That's what I was trying to say. It's been a while since I said that, so bear with me. And if you really dig the show, you can consider subscribing here at twitch.tv/PhoenixDownRadio, where you'll get access to a number of subscriber-only emotes and badges. Or you can go out to patreon.com/PhoenixDownRadio and support us like our benevolent overlord Rory Fenrir, our shadowy foreign investor Tibian Seltz, or our secret of Nevermore Ravenheart. All proceeds go towards growing the show, cover things like hosting costs, allow us to improve and upgrade equipment, as well as do fun things like contests and giveaways. But as always, it doesn't matter what kind of support you give us, whether it's likes, emails, tweets, subs, follows, whatever, we appreciate it because we like interacting with you guys and the rest of the community. If you want to check out our backlog of podcasts, you can go out to our website, PhoenixDownRadio.com. If you have questions, comments, want to say hi, or have suggestions for the show, you can email us at podcast@PhoenixDownRadio.com. And as always, you can check out our VODs from past episodes by going out to youtube.com/PhoenixDownRadio. Any shout outs for you, Mr. Seyrr?
Right, I've got a couple shout outs this week. So first off, I'd like to shout out the other members of my Criterion Dungeon group, Arika Hiorin, Talia Lumala, and Bubu Ubuntu. Really great job persevering through all that. It was frustrating at times, but the fact that each time we went through, we got a little bit further, we were making steady progress, we developed our own in-jokes. I will never live down the entire thing with Rampart.
So I have a question. Do you call your group the Criterion Collection?
No, for the moment we were Criterion. I've occasionally thought about suggesting Criterion Collection, but that felt too obvious, you know?
I know, but still, yeah, I had to throw it out there.
No, I thought about it. Like, it's the obvious joke. It just felt too much. But so big shout out to them. We have cleared it about 10 times now and all gotten the mount from it, so we'll probably do it a bit more to try to get a couple fell. For those of you who do want challenging...
You can get one for me.
And if you come along and can actually clear the content, we'll teach you.
That sounds like work.
Yeah, but I mean, like, for those who want that super challenging content, who have thought about Savages, and like Criterion is a 4-man version, so it's a little bit of an easier introduction to it. If nothing else, the schedules are easier to coordinate.
That's true.
Also, big shout out to my friend Sophia Dershell, as well as God, what's their character's last name? REA. I can't remember your last name, Ari. Good friends in FF14, as well as in my anime group. Thank you for the continued encouragement to do my daily frontline. I'm not going to have to cram at the end of the season this time. It's so nice. Also, oh my God, I mentioned it earlier, but like that feeling of power when you hit Battle High 5. I like my last match, I had my KDA was 5049.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a lot of assists.
Yes, it turns out I know how to play Bard in PvP pretty decently. The trick is knowing when to hang back and when to fire a broadside across the entire team fight. Good times. So yes, big shout out to all of you guys. Love hanging out with you. Love playing stuff. Looking forward to. I think we're gonna get. We paused on Black Clover. I think we're starting on My Hero Academia and Kaguya-sama again. So very much looking forward to that. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter at FF14Seyrr. That's FFXIVSEYRR. I'm not using it as much lately because Twitter and all that, but you can find me there. Probably more reliable is to find me on our Discord, which I'm sure Klauss has thrown several links into the chat, or it's in the show description. I can never remember the URL offhand, but you can find it. It's there. I'm there. I like chatting with you folks. Yeah. I guess.
You can find the Discord on our website. It's linked in the notes here. It's also, just ask us for us if you want as well. You can always email us, tweet at us. We'll get you the Discord link. It's an easy way to get a hold of us.
Yeah. Oh, and also big shout out to that Euphrosyne group on the first night who I like running the 24-mans the first day when no one has figured anything out yet and try to work out how the mechanics work. Big shout out to the entire Euphrosyne group for mostly listening to me as I mused and tried to work out where things are going on, and for not listening to me on that one mechanic where I turned out to be completely wrong. It was really funny though. Only I died.
You probably deserved it though.
I probably did something. But like people were really cool about it. Just like I was like, okay, this thing seems like this, and this is a deity of that, so it's probably that. Oh, that's using like a tarot card motif, so do the opposite on this thing. And like they were mostly cool with it.
I only died a handful of times the first time through, so
yeah,
I'll probably only die a handful more the next time through because it's been 2 weeks.
There's a lot going on there. It's exciting and interesting, and I look forward to talking about it when we do our exploration of patch 6.3. But as always, thanks to the community for being cool and supportive while I act like a total goofball.
Indeed.
How about you, Klauss? You got some shout-outs this week?
Yeah, I want to shout out my D&D group. We got together again after a 3-month hiatus, and we started up a new entry in our our 3.5 campaign. We're going to be jumping back into our 1.0 Temple of Elemental Evil campaign here on our next go around in about 3 weeks, I believe it is.
Oh wow, like D&D 1.0?
Yes.
Old school.
This is the Temple of Elemental Evil is a campaign pack that Gary Gygax himself wrote.
I'd heard of it. I didn't know he was involved with. Dang, yes. That's some history behind it.
This is old school.
I know they've done some remakes of it, but
and it's there have been some remakes that have been in the 3.5 and other editions, but we're running it in 1.0 with actual THAC0. So shout out to them.
I know how to do THAC0, but you could not pay me to go back to it.
And Nick Nar, this is that's the only group that has an Arlo. It's his character's name. He asked if your Criterion group had an Arlo. It's like nobody else has an Arlo. Only our Temple of Elemental Evil group has an Arlo.
Nope, we've got a boo 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 though,
but not an Arlo.
Nope.
So shout out to all of those guys. Shout out to you for being an amazing co-host. I appreciate you jumping in again, even though you were the cause of last episode's delay.
Hey. The unprecedented rainfall in California was the cause of that. Which, don't get me wrong, we badly needed, and I hope.
What they call it, the atmospheric river?
Yeah.
Or something like that. Some weird name.
Yeah. No, like, because I am a local government employee, they were actually sending out like atmospheric river things for a lot of our work email stuff. It was awesome.
But yeah, I'm glad that a lot of that has subsided and things have gone to a little bit of normalcy for you guys. But I just had to give you some shit for it. Give me a break.
Oh, 100%.
Shout out to... Go ahead.
They repaired apparently there's an issue with some junction box in the building, so they repaired that. So stuff should be better at this point.
Yeah, there was only one little hiccup there just a few moments ago, but nothing major.
Woo!
Shout out to Marvelous for just being an awesome guy. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here because he had other things that he had to take care of, which completely understandable. We just hope we can get him in on another episode.
We miss you,
soon.
Boo.
So
I will flirt with you because it will entertain me.
It'll entertain a lot of the listeners too. So,
yeah.
Depending on when we can get him back is when we'll determine what we'll be talking about on the next episode. So look forward to that. Just if you want to know, just follow the show. Hit up the Discord. It's the best way to do it.
We got to capture that Fujoshi demographic.
If you want to know more about me, I am out on Twitter every once in a while at PHXDN_KLAUSS. But for similar reasons to Seyrr, I don't spend a ton of time out there. It's not a very fun landscape to be on anymore. So I spend more time in Discord as well as just hanging out with where we can have a little bit of control over the people that we hang out with. So.
Yeah.
Discord is the best place to find us now, guys. We would appreciate if you wanted to jump in and hang out with us. So for my co-host, Seyrr Tomono, I am Klauss Nightbringer, wishing everybody a wonderful evening. Welcome to 2023. We hope it's an amazing year, and we will catch you on the next episode. Until then, peace.